We as Americans are in a time of producing and consequently mishandling more waste per person than we ever have historically. In light of this, to put it in perspective, cities such as Chicago are recycling less than 10% of their waste, according to the Illinois Public Interest Group. You heard that right. We are drastically mismanaging the growing problem when we should be assigning resources to fix it. In order to rein in this huge waste problem, recycling programs must be continued or reinstated in communities that have lost them. To do that, and call for the necessary action, we must understand what is causing the initial problem, why initiatives to combat it are currently being discontinued, and why proceeding with these programs will benefit communities in major ways. My name is Paige Stahelski, and my experience with the issue of climate change spans many years, as I have been researching the overall environmental crisis out of growing concern for how it is being handled. Also, I recently wrote a speech about President Biden's climate plan, allowing me to delve deeper into the problems plaguing our environment, such as the many kinds of pollution. This gave me a strong basis to ground my details with and help legitimize this given information. Speaking of having a basis, one must fully understand the root of the aforementioned problem. The root of such is mismanaged waste, a large portion of which could be recycled if it was handled and processed properly after initial use. As Americans continue to produce waste, these proper disposal companies are failing, taking with it the option to correctly handle a large portion of that waste. According to a recent report from the New York Times, hundreds of local recycling programs in American cities and towns are collapsing. This means the towns dependent on recycling will lose the ability to dispose of large percentages of their waste correctly. In fact, to expound on my earlier statement about garbage production, the EPA estimates that 75% of American waste is recyclable, but we only recycle about 30% of it, according to DoSomething.org. With this in mind, it means that communities with these services will be more likely to need a landfill in the future, and communities already without them may experience a need for landfill growth. And some of that waste may not even end up in landfills, but is litter plaguing our roads. This litter along roads and natural areas can be blown into freshwater reservoirs where they decompose into toxic particles that can pollute farm soil and other freshwater sources when used, according to Sun. With the growing list of negative effects on the environment, and the fact that garbage production is at an upward incline, it is shocking that recycling facilities are closing at a rapid rate. Shocking in theory, at least. In truth, the reasons why these processing centers are being shut down are real and very concerning. The cost of the physical act of processing recyclable materials, as well as the time and effort required to build the governmental and corporate public works infrastructures necessary, are the biggest boundaries blocking the way to community health and sustainability. To put that in perspective, a recycling hauler picks up about a bin and a cart, transporting the recyclables to a single stream material recovery facility, also known as an MRF. A single MRF can cost upwards of $11 million to construct, whereas a landfill costs about approximately $500,000 per acre, according to Michigan.gov. The sheer cost of recycling services, combined with space and legislation needed to create handling facilities, makes this much more difficult. As stated by the Environmental Magazine in collaboration with BusinessEthics.com, lawmakers loathe to take away the waste management regulatory powers from individual states that are vastly different in need from one another. For instance, less populous western states with lots of extra land for siting landfills might not be so inclined to push for higher recycling rates as those crowded eastern states with less room to store their trash. And when cost to a community mixes with the federal laws that do not take clear, decisive, and inclusive change, the establishment of these essential services is put in danger. But stand back for a second and consider recycling to be almost the same as a business. It requires money as a startup, a community to support it, and some employees who need jobs and believe in the company. With some time and effort, the money is made back in full, and then some, and the town is better off for it. When a different approach is taken to recycling, where the returns are highly valued, big outcomes are produced for our towns here at home and our country. But here, only the monetary value, though it is nice, is explored. Now flip the switch and see how such services can be used to join together the members of a community while reducing waste. According to Waste Advantage magazine, recycling programs reduce the amount of materials in landfills while beautifying our communities. What would you rather see, a clean open park filled with trees and a bustling public bike path, or a mound of trash being buried in dirt? What's better is that a clean environment can also boost our community and involve our citizens. According to Waste Advantage magazine, picture it. A community where recycling services are thriving and the economy just as well. A cleaner city where materials are used to their full potential. In order to do that, we cannot stay in our current ways. We must make room for green facilities, but not forget the issues that drive us to call for change. In order to bring green change to our communities, we must recognize how mismanaged waste programs got us into this issue, how high prices for the services cause mass closure of these facilities, and the ways we can move forward to institute new policies and better our communities. With this knowledge of our current systems and the potential they have to create change, take the initiative and contact your local congressman and call for reformatory change in the next election. We all have the right to recycle. Take that change into your own hands.